Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Talking Cardboard. I'm John.
And I'm Nick.
Today we're going to be doing a recap of everything that we've been playing in the month of May and then just kind of touch on some of the cool things we have coming up for the month of June. As always, if you like what we've been doing, please subscribe. Give us a like, provide some comments on what we've been doing or what you'd like to see us do. We love interacting with everyone that does throw some comments our way, so looking forward to more of that. To start off, my cup of tea in the month of May, we started off with Star Wars weekend. And
Very important day.
man, was it a blast. Yeah, it was really fun. You want to maybe
4th.
start off with what we played first, since you were the one that came over and we did some two-player games.
Yeah, so John orchestrated our Star Wars weekend, and it was a lot of fun because we were both big fans of Star Wars. John maybe even more so than myself, but nonetheless, there's plenty of great Star Wars board games out there. Namely, one of them was Rebellion that I came over to play with John. I was the Imperials, he was the Rebel Scum, and of course, as you can imagine, the Imperials just took out the Rebels. John
I got a little cocky with my base. I kind of left it unguarded. Highly do not recommend that strategy. Nick happened to play a card that forced me to reveal 3 planets, and unbeknownst to me, he had already checked 2 of those off the docket. So made it pretty easy for him to know where to go, and it was a kind of a disappointing ending to an otherwise fun game.
It was fun.
Yeah.
But it's easy for me to say that. And then after Rebellion, John took out this old CCG that was a Star Wars themed CCG that he'd maybe mentioned in the past.
Yeah, it's the old Decipher CCG. It's very nuanced, a lot of moving parts. It was, I would assume, probably not the easiest game to jump into with the decks that I had prepared.
It had a little bit of a learning curve. It was not like a traditional CCG from my standpoint. I've played a little bit of Pokemon, I've played a little bit of Magic, I've played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! But a little bit of each of those. And this one was, in my opinion, Star Wars CCG was played very differently than those 3. But I like the idea and concept behind it for sure. It just felt like it was a CCG that to make it a good experience, it wasn't so much about the competitive aspect like those other ones where, oh, I have a better deck than you, let's play. It's more like, hey, how do I make this game fun for us both while also telling a Star Wars story, which is a cool idea because you don't see that in modern CCGs in my opinion, but it also makes it more important than, like John said, to come in with a very good plan and deck.
I did, after that weekend, I did go back and tailor some decks to be more starter friendly and focus on some more of the key pieces of the Death Star 2 battle. So again, I'll have to get that to the table again with you or Corey and go through the easier decks.
So I can imagine a lot of people are like, well, how does this compare to the Unlimited Star Wars that's just coming out? So John, any comments on that?
No clue. I'm sure they will not be the same, but I am excited for Star Wars Unlimited by FFG. I'm hoping it has a long lifespan, which has not been the MO for a lot of the Star Wars IP card games through FFG, but we'll see. I have high hopes.
So then we rounded off the Star Wars weekend with a campaign of Imperial Assault, and we used the Jabba's Realm expansion. And I have all the Star Wars Imperial Assault expansions, John as well. So it was nice to finally get this game to the table, and we had a full ensemble of player characters. We
got some of the other Talking Cardboard crew involved. We had Church there, we had Ryan and Kaler.
Yep.
Kind of hard to get those guys on board for stuff lately. Having children has put a damper on a lot of people's board game and hobby life lately, and Nick will be learning that very shortly. So, but yeah, it was great to get Imperial Assault to the table. I got to take the role of a Rebel player this time, which I really enjoyed. The difficulty curve on on any Imperial Assault campaign is very difficult. The game was designed to make it challenging for the Rebel forces to win. I know that can be frustrating for some people. I think it adds to the challenge of trying to overcome that hurdle. But either way, I like the aspect that it's telling a story and you're playing through these missions. And I just like playing my character, and it was a blast.
Yeah, I was some ex-Imperial soldier. I'm forgetting.
Oh
his
yeah,
name.
CT-107 or something like that. Yeah.
And he was really good with his moving around and shooting with his blaster. So, and as John said, the missions were very difficult. We always found ourselves running out of time.
Yep.
But what I appreciate about the campaign structure of Imperial Assault is win or lose, you get stuff, what experience and money to buy, credits to buy more equipment, and so. After those 3 games, you definitely felt much stronger, much more capable than you did in the first game, and that to me was kind of the fun part because it made me more excited then to play the next mission. Because even though we lost, like okay, but this next mission I think will be better suited to win. So, but it was a lot of fun, and I definitely look forward to playing some more Imperial Assault in the future.
Yeah, and then moving on, one of the big things we were trying to do this month was get our segment of board game deathmatch kind of rolling. So we kind of spent a lot of time playing 2 games that we were looking into that. And Nick, since you own the first one, I'll let you start with that first game.
Yeah, so the game that I have that we played for this board game deathmatch is called After the Empire, which is a medieval theme kind of castle defense game, but more in the literal sense, like you're literally defending a castle in this game, and it's a competitive game. But it's almost like a competitive solitaire game where every player is focused just on their own little castle, and there's not a lot of player interaction. But I really like the game because of the toy factor. You're actually physically building a castle with walls. You're upgrading walls. You're adding turrets. You're moving your infantry and your swordsmen and archers around on the walls and preparing for invaders and invading archers and invading land troops, and there's mercenaries, and it just feels like you're actually literally playing with toys but actually also playing a game. So I had a lot of fun with that game. And
yeah, I think After the Empire is very fun. I think the first time we played it was a little lackluster. It felt like a lot of stuff to figure out. But once you understand the core mechanics, it's not really that difficult of the game, and it's got reference cards that lay out the phases of the turn pretty simply. And yeah, like Nick said, building your castle and trying to figure out how to make the best defense against these hordes of barbarians that are coming in is really fun. And the best part, I think, is that a lot of the forces are invading your castle are coming in from a different cardinal direction, but 3 out of the 4 cards are hidden information. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to prepare your defenses optimally in order to defend for any situation that arises, and I think that's a blast. Yep. And when people's castles get sacked, that's also a funny turn of events, and you give people a hard time because you lose a significant amount of points. And granted, you do get some extra mercenaries for the next turn and resources. It's still kind of entertaining in that aspect.
Yep, definitely. So what was the other game that we were comparing After the Empire to, John?
Yeah, this was actually a game that Corey got, and we had played once, probably a year or 2 ago now, but it's been a very highly anticipated game to get back to the table, and that is The Great Wall by Awakened Realms. Had a lot of fun with this, too. It is themed around the Mongolian invasion of China. Essentially what you're trying to do is build the Great Wall, as the name would imply. You're also trying to recruit soldiers from your barracks to defend the wall or go out and fight the hordes, and you can get victory points through a whole sort of different pathways, from your generals that you have to your advisors to just defeating hordes gives you points. Building the wall gives you points. So I think that game has a lot of good avenues for strategy and replayability. Had a blast with that one as well.
And I don't want to spoil too much of the comparison because we will have a video comparing these games in detail. So check that out once it gets on our channel. But from my perspective, Great Wall definitely is a well-designed game. It just didn't have quite the toy factor for me as After the Empire did, and was maybe more on the Euro side of the spectrum than what I normally enjoy. But it did a lot of unique things that I haven't seen a lot of other games do, but including adding this kind of semi-cooperative element where you there's only one winner. Whoever has the most victory points wins, but at the same time you need to actually defend the walls, and that's something that everyone's doing together, and so it's kind of a unique game from that standpoint. So it's a fun experience.
Yeah, I am very interested to check out the fully co-op version of that game in the future and see how that changes my perspective on things. I feel like if we can bump up the difficulty a little bit, I might like that almost more than the semi-co-op version.
Yep.
But we'll see. And with that, Nick, what was the next game we got to the table?
So,
to the table.
Yeah, the digital table, the tabletop simulator table. So I have couple friends from college that I've been trying to get into board gaming since college, and they came. One of them mentioned to me, "Hey, I've heard about this game called Root. I'd love to play it." Unfortunately, one friend lives in Ohio, the other was in Washington. But in this day of age, the great news is we have technology and we can play games digitally using Tabletop Simulator. So we got a game of Root going on that, and I invited John along since he's the expert. He was the Root rules expert for us, and that was a lot of fun. I've yet to actually play it until this last month. Even though it's been on my list of games to play for a while, because I appreciate the Coin series of games, which from GMT, and this Root is heavily inspired by that series, and it was I had a lot of fun, and we only played with the base factions, but that for first timers that was more than enough of a learning curve for us, and definitely now having played with the base factions, kind of want to try again with some of the other factions that have been released over the course of all these expansions. And
yeah, I love anytime we play Root or talk about Root, because starting out with Talking Cardboard, that was a big stain on our reputation when we were beginner gamers and we tried out this game called Root, and it was just over our heads at the time, and everyone thought we were crazy for giving it a poor review. And since then I've clearly become a big fan and bought everything you can outside of the Clockwork expansion. But yeah, it was kind of nice getting back to the roots of just playing the base factions. I think I played as Marquis de Cat, and for some reason they should be the easiest to figure out and play, but I can never do well with them. But either way, it was fun. I don't even remember who won. Did the Vagabond win that game?
Yeah, that was Nathal, my friend Nathal. He somehow was getting all these items. And
I think that was the biggest complaint of the base Root game, is that the Vagabond felt very overpowered and hard to set back from winning the game and getting to 30 points. But still, I always have a blast with Root, win or lose, so can't go wrong with it.
One thing I'll throw out too is Leader Games is a local publishing company.
Yes.
So if anyone from Leader's watching this, definitely reach out to us if you ever have games you want to help us promote, because we'd be happy to do that.
I was going to say I'm going to do another shout out to Letter Games, because they heard I was missing a piece out of one of the expansions I bought and mailed it to me. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. So next on the list of games we played over this last month was one that just I played, and that was Europa Universalis, the board game. So some of you may know Europa Universalis is, I would say, a highly acclaimed PC franchise. It's been around now for many years, because they're on the 4th version of the game, I want to say. So I don't know when the original came out. That type of PC game never really appealed to me, the big strategy types of PC games, because I was more into the tactical kind of RTS games. My favorite was Rome Total War, because I loved those huge battles you'd fight, which did include a strategy map like in Europa Universalis, but then it had the tactical battles. So I never got into the PC game of Europa, but when I found out the board game was going to be published, which was now a couple years ago, it was a game that caught my interest, because I thought a board game adaptation of the PC game would be something that I would enjoy. So over the last month, I got together with a couple guys from the first Minnesota board game group, and we played a scenario of Europa Universalis. I was the faction of Castile. We played the 1444 scenario, and meanwhile the other two guys I played with were representing the English and then French nations in the game. And it's super crunchy, lots and lots of little details all over the place in terms of how the different actions you can take are work. But at its core, when it's your turn, there's only a handful of actions you can take. So it's not like you're overwhelmed by choices. You only have a handful of choices. It's more just, what choices do I want to take and when, and then when you do an action, just all the little details you need to remember. So has a high barrier of entry, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun from the standpoint that it's more of an experience than a game. It's too big of a game to actually feel like you're playing a game as much as I'm just doing things and I'm going to see what happens.
Right.
And you know, you kind of have to go into this game with that mindset and not think, oh, I'm going to play this game hard and I'm going to beat everyone, like, which is the case with a lot of games. But this game, I feel, is more like you're just wanting to have a fun time.
Right. I have not played this game yet, but I've seen you play it twice now, or share pictures of it twice now. It definitely does look very involved, but it looks very, very fun and something that hopefully we'll get to play your version of it here sometime in the future. So definitely look forward to that. I think that pretty much wraps up what we've been playing over the last month, but there are a couple cool things we've got coming up in the month of June. And Nick, I think you kind of set this first thing up, so I'll let you jump into what we've got coming up next weekend.
Yeah, so something become a huge fan of over the last couple of years are board game markets, and they always seem to be located at breweries, although they could be theoretically located anywhere and any establishment. But for whatever reason, there's this connection between board game markets and breweries. And
hey, I'm not complaining. I like that. Yeah,
it's a great, and I think
games
it's
and drinks.
Yeah, it's a fantastic combination because it's bringing in, I think, new gamers into the hobby because you're at a brewery where there's people that like beer, and seems to be a little bit of a correlation between people that are fond of craft beers and also like board gaming. So there's a very great symbiotic relationship going here. And next Friday of the recording of this video, at least June 3rd. There will be a board game swap meet, is what it's called, but essentially a board game market at this Torg Brewery in, I think, Spring Lake Park, Minnesota. And I will be hosting a table there myself because I have plenty of games in my collection that I'm finally allowing myself to try and sell because my collection continues to expand, like the Blob from movies, series. Anyway, but I'll be there with some games. I might maybe be selling some games for Corey and John if they have some that they're trying to get rid of as well. So, representing also Talking Cardboard too.
Yeah, I was going to say, technically we are sponsors of this event.
Yes, we are sponsors.
So the plan is to get all of us out there. Like Nick said, we'll be selling games at his table, but I think the plan will be to also be walking around, chatting folks up, checking out other board games people are offering, because, you can never be satisfied with your collection. You gotta add, subtract as often as possible, especially in Corey and Nick's case, it seems. I'm a little more static. But, yeah, Talking Cardboard, sponsor of this thing, will be there. If anyone's local or planning on being there, make sure to seek us out and say hi.
Yeah, definitely. And then another thing I wanted to quick mention is I finally have my a streaming setup in my home so I can actually stream board games I've been playing. So I hope to do more of that in the future. This past week or so, I played through a scenario of the board game Resist, which is a solitaire-only game by David Thompson, who is very famous for the Undaunted series, but he also does other games, including this one called Resist, which is solitaire-only. And that was a lot of fun to finally be able to play live with potential viewers and fans of our Talking Cardboard group. And then I also just did an unboxing of my Too Many Bones Unbreakable.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
So stay tuned, hopefully, for more streams from me. Because I have so many solitaire games. Obviously, it's great to play with John and Corey and others from Talking Cardboard. But I have plenty of games that I can thoroughly enjoy on my own. I just have yet to ever get them to the table. So why not play these games with you guys watching as well?
Yeah, I was going to say, it seemed like you got a couple of viewers that stayed pretty long for both your solitaire Resist play and your unboxing, and saw some of the chatting going on there, and I thought that's really cool. So again, if you're watching these videos, keep an eye out for us going live. We love chatting with people while we're playing games, and they're trying to explain what's going on, or maybe giving a first eye view of how some of these games work, since we don't always post playthroughs or walkthroughs of some of these games. So love to have people there for our live events. I think the last big thing that we're still working on is our top 10 games of 2023. We've gotten through, I think, the 20 through 11 for all of us now, or will shortly. I think Nick's last video coming out here. A little delayed this year, like we mentioned earlier. A lot going on with new family situations, children, and whatnot. But yeah, we'll have our top 10 probably be broken down into 2 videos. I don't know. Anything else to say with that, Nick?
No, just enjoying getting as much gaming as I can in before my first kid comes around. So trying to take advantage of these last couple months as much as possible.
Understandable. Yeah. But with that, I think that pretty much wraps up the month of May for Talking Cardboard. So thanks again for checking us out, and enjoy your gaming.
See you guys.